the Black Isle in the north of Scotland. It is known to be a haven for animals rarely found around the rest of the UK. The area was chosen to reintroduce a species once persecuted to the verge of extinction across the country. The red kite. With a wingspan of nearly 2 metres, it is one of the UK's largest birds of prey. The Black Isle seemed to be the perfect location for the birds, and they were quickly adopted as an iconic local species. But while their numbers are soaring in England and Wales, the Scottish population is still struggling. In 2014, 22 birds of prey, including 16 red kites, were found dead in one small area of the Black Isle. This shocked the community, who raised £32,000 as a reward for any information leading to an arrest. 1 year on, the case has not been solved. However, the locals are making sure this tragedy is not forgotten.
Hi, this is Brian Etheridge again from the RSPB. I need a location for where you picked this bird up. This is required for the post-mortem.
I received a telephone call from a member of the public who was out walking and found a freshly dead red kite at the side of the road.
So the bird was submitted for a post-mortem, but 2 days later I received another call from another member of the public in the same area about another dead kite. So this really set alarm bells ringing, and I knew that we had an incident on our hands. And in the space of about 10 days, I found another dozen kites and also a number of buzzards dead.
Did you find who did it? We don't know. It's in the hands of the police and they're not saying anything at all.
That was terrible, that.
Really? It was awful, wasn't it?
Oh, I'd have lost an awful lot of light. It was naming that.
22.
Was
We lost 22 birds of prey.
Oh, was it? Well,
There were 16 kites.
That's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
That was
6 buzzards and 16 kites.
That's terrible,
Mm-hmm. Last year was awful. I was away and I got a text from a friend and she had found a red kite dead. Then from that point on, it was just kind of like all hell had broken loose. When we found the first bird, we just thought that was a one-off. And then the next day, another one had been found, and then another one had been found, and then a buzzard had been found. And it just was just this crescendo of death.
How did I feel? You spend 20 years working towards the conservation of these birds, and every bird matters, and suddenly you're going around picking up birds that had just been poisoned, you know? I just couldn't get my head around it initially. I was so outraged. I was very, very angry, very sad, because some of the individuals I had ringed as chicks, so I'd known them for a long time. One of them was 16 years old. So she had nested there for 13 years and produced quite a lot of young. So she was a very familiar bird to me, and for her to be a victim, I was very saddened. I would hope it never happens again. And if it does, I hope the police do a better job. It was very poorly investigated by the police at the very start. They made some really momentous cock-ups. Come here, Tess. They were found in 3 locations around the periphery of this one large farm holding. But, you can go and speak to the farmer concerned and he'll, I don't know anything about this, it's all over now.
I just returned from holiday when I got in touch with the police. They said there'd been an incident with dead birds of prey being found. We have had no incidents with red kites with livestock. We love red kites and we think it's a great asset to the area. I was round the back when one of the members of staff said, "Look, and there's riot vans coming in the drive." 2 or 3 riot vans arrived. They came up to me and served a warrant. The police said to me that you got to sit here till we search the place. I said, "Fine." I said, "You're here on welfare grounds here because of the red kites?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Well, you've got a bigger welfare problem in your hands now." And he said, "Why?" I said, "Well, I've got 200 ewes just lambing triplets out there, and every dead lamb you're going to be paying for. The poor police officer took fright and decided to say, just carry on with what you're doing. My wife was on a late the night before working and they walked into the bedroom. Now, I didn't think there was any need for that, and to this day I've been told they found absolutely nothing, which is an absolute miracle on a farm this size, because if you were to go home to look in your chemist cupboard at home, you'd probably find something that was out of date or illegal. I spoke to local NFU officers. We used our boardroom to meet up with 2 senior police officers in the area. We did have a good meeting that day, but since then nothing else has happened.
The police put out a press release alerting the public to this incident. Effectively what that did actually was warn the person who was doing the poisoning that the police were investigating a wildlife crime. I mean, very much later the police did put quite a big team in to try and find out who was responsible, but basically the horse had bolted.
The one thing I said to them, why, a bit strange you weren't here the day after the incident, why were you not here with your dogs? Or we were training our dogs to smell poisons rather than drugs in tenements in Glasgow, which I found quite funny. Probably first suspicion is that some silly devil's gone and put some poison such as strychnine down, trying to kill one species off. That theory of mine doesn't add up now, because nothing was ever found, no poisons were ever found in the area. Our 3 farms that they said they found the red kites on, we had never found anything. I'm only guessing that it was poisonous. There was theories that have they got a disease that's gone through them in this area, you know?
I suspect that the farmer involved employed someone to get rid of the crows or to get rid of the foxes, and the farmer is probably protecting that individual, mainly because he's also protecting his own interests. He could lose his single farm payment, which could amount to tens, if not hundreds of thousands of pounds.
I can't believe that he would instruct someone to use poison.
He probably expected the person to use legitimate means like shooting, but whoever it was used poison.
I'm almost convinced this wasn't done by a farmer, a landowner or a crofter, because you'd have to be bloody clever to go and kill that number of birds without killing something else, and I don't think anybody's that clever enough. That'll do, folks, that'll do. You cannot physically kill that number of birds of prey on a large area without other animals and birds being destroyed. My suspicions now, well, if this incident happened with 22 birds of prey, they must have been fed in the one place.
There were some rumours that it was Tolly that was responsible for the poisonings, but we've got 2 or 3 resident pairs of kites nesting around the centre, and they still are. A year on, the authorities aren't forthcoming at all. The police particularly are, it's just like a closed book. Even though they say it's an ongoing investigation, it kind of isn't, because a lot of people around here know who did it and why. And the police obviously know who did it and why, because they've said on their latest press release that it was pest control and it wasn't deliberate. On the one hand, they're saying it was an accident, basically, but then they're saying it's an illegal substance, so why haven't they prosecuted? Police have to enforce the laws, they have to be more serious about wildlife crime. We believe that they see it as a low priority, they say they don't, but the facts speak for themselves. Obviously, you know, you're going to take murder and things, you're going to deal with them first, of course, nobody's saying otherwise. But to have a situation like here where somebody could go out and kill 22 birds of prey and walk away scot-free just illustrates that something has to change. Something's not right. The system doesn't work. Because if it did work, where's the prosecution?
1 year on, we've got too many unanswered questions. I'm not criticising the police, but when you sit round the table, you need them actively involved. They keep on answering, we can't tell you because it's a criminal investigation. Task force is going nowhere. But once the case is closed, if it ever is, this might come out into the general domain. The only impact it's had on the farming community is the relationship between the farming community and RSPCB has got a lot worse. The relationship before this incident would have been okay, but now there's a lot of people very wary of RSPCB. I think the effort at the start here was quite good, but then it's dwindled away to nothing. All we have is unanswered questions. That is all we have.
When I think about it, I still get very angry. I feel angry because there was no conclusion, because the person who did it is still out there and could do it again, and there's still people out there who feel that they can flout the laws of the land and that they have no respect at all for the special protection that red kites have. And until we catch these people and really severely punish them, hold them up as an example to those who will persistently break the law, then I don't think there's going to be much change. It's very difficult to detect because it's happening often in remote areas, it's happening at unsocial times, and it's being carried out by people who know it's illegal, so they're going to great pains to ensure that they're not being watched.
There's been no change, as far as I'm aware, since last year. It's possible that they know the person responsible, but they cannot prove it.
It was a shock that it happened here, so it could be a shock that it would happen anywhere. Your more typical location for wildlife crime is on a big estate where they have shooting and a gamekeeper, and that culture is slowly changing, very, very slowly. I mean, these areas look beautiful, but they're just riddled with this undercurrent of criminality, and it needs to be stamped out. It really, really does. It will change. Gradually it will change, but it will take a long, long time.
Well, one of the positive consequences is we know we run a farming business that doesn't have any illegal products in it, and I couldn't have done that without the help of the police looking at every nook and cranny in the business.
There has been some positive things, and one of the most positive, of course, is the huge publicity we've given to the crime of illegal poison in the countryside. There was considerable amount of criticism against Police Scotland, so I think they've changed the way they would deal with a future incident. The other thing, of course, is for me, is knowing that I have so many supporters out there. I didn't realise I had so many people who are so keen for red kites. These birds are very much public. They belong to everyone, you know. And it made me realise that actually the kites have got lots and lots of friends out there.
I think in a way this happening has been a positive thing because it's made a lot of people sit up and take notice of wildlife crime. Again, it's this underlying kind of culture of persecution, and it will take years and years for that to dissipate. Hopefully one day we'll be sitting here and talking about the history of wildlife persecution and how it is a historical thing. Hopefully I'll be sitting here and saying that in years to come.